Well, my message today is titled Kindness in Every Way. And after my last message, I asked myself, how can we continue to stay focused on on living from the act of spiritual kindness through this Lenten season, which was the title of my last message. And if you didn't see that last message, you can look it up on YouTube or on our website. They're posted on there too. And this Lenten season, we're doing a series of lessons on kindness. So I thought about that we have to continue to bring kindness to the forefront of our minds so that we can continue to spiritually grow in that area. Well, anyway, I heard about this on Facebook, which I thought was a kind thing to do. But you take a bag and put an item in it every day of Lent. And at the end of the 40 days, give the bag of items away, releasing what we no longer need or want and opening up a new path for good to enter. And I shared this with a few people the other day, and I just thought could be a powerful thing for us to do, to start thinking about doing something kind, something that is in your house that every day you could take and stick in that bag. But not only does this clear out some clutter that you might have and get rid of some things that you might not be using or have been sitting there forever, it's also about releasing things and things that no longer serve us or that we need. And really, that's a kind thing to do to yourself, is to get rid of stuff that is just in the way, that's just piling up. But it's also kind to give it to somebody who could use it. The reason why we are not kind sometimes, I think, is because we do have these mental and physical obstacles. If you walk into a room and it's cluttered and stuff is piled up, it does something to you mentally. It makes you feel like, oh God, that's too overwhelming, that's too much. Watch some of those hoarding shows and the people will say, well, I started out just, having a few things and then I just couldn't get a control over it. And it does do something to your mental psyche and also physically. We know it's not healthy or, and even if you're not a hoarder, but you have things piled up and you say, someday I'm going to get to that and organize it. I've done that before. The other day I had a pile of books, not on my nightstand, but next to my nightstand, and I thought, I need to go through those books and put the ones that I'm not reading back up on the bookshelf. And I did. And it opened up a pathway for me to release what I no longer needed piled up there and just open up a new path for wanting to finish reading the books that I did want to read. So it's healthy for us. It's healthy for us to get in that place. But how many times have we tried to release something from our subconscious mind just to have it resurface for us? A lot, huh? Yes? No?
Yeah.
Yes? This is monkey mind, by the way, in case you can't see the monkeys. Those are monkeys, and this is this guy's mind and head all swollen up because that stuff just keeps coming back. It just keeps churning at us. And we can feel like we have forgiven somebody for something and maybe even felt like we released it. But the minute they do it again, all those feelings come back up to the surface, don't they? And we're back in that place of feeling the pain and feeling the disappointment, feeling all those feelings we had initially, and when we thought we had released it and let go of it. This is another reason why we have to rid ourselves from clutter and from things that no longer serve us. We can instantly, in any moment, forgive somebody. But we really have to go down deep into our souls to really release and forgive from that place. Because if not, that's what's going to happen. It's just going to keep bouncing around up there and everything. But wouldn't it be fabulous if we didn't have to have it keep bouncing back? Wouldn't it be fabulous if once we released it and let go of it, it's no longer a thing for us anymore? And even if we saw somebody else doing it, we could go, oh yeah, that's not on me, that's them. And look at it from a new perspective. And it would be so helpful on our spiritual journey. Well, this is the time of Lent, and we're working on this, and this is the third Sunday in Lent. And the Lenten season, like I said, is that 40-day period, but it was created by the church. It does have a spiritual principle behind it because we know that when you take 40 days of prayer and fasting from erroneous thinking, from error thinking, that it does correct our behaviors, that it can make us come from a different place spiritually. And it happened for Moses, Elijah, and Jesus. They all spent 40-day period, alone, and as a result received spiritual messages. So not only do we want to take this Lenten season as a practice, a reminder to practice what we really want to live and how we really want to live, but we want to use this Lenten season to go beyond what we already know, don't we? We want to have a new level of consciousness about kindness, about being kind, and evolve a little higher, a little stronger. I mean, that's what it is for us, a deeper message, something that's going to bring forth. And we can find that when we pray, but we can also find it in our actions, putting our prayers into action and listening for those messages. It's aligning our consciousness with truth and moving forward from that place. The thing about it is, if you are practicing kindness and you are doing it from that spiritual place, it will not be about your ego. It will be about your spiritual nature. It will not be about what you have done to be kind to somebody, or, oh yeah, that person used to make me mad, but I'm going to be nice to them now. But even though I just know how they are, anybody ever say that? Yeah. And you think, oh, because I'm rising above and I'm going to be kind and nice right now, that means that I'm being more spiritual. But if your ego's still locked into it, then what are you doing? You're not doing anything spiritual. You're still back there at the moment the event happened. And, I catch myself sometimes going, no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to say that. I don't want to even think it. And you have to resurface that and take it out and release it out into the universe. Because if you don't, it just keeps churning. Now, here's what really helps for me. The minute I start going to that place, and it starts presenting itself, whatever it is, that it thing, that reaction that you have, you stop, you close your eyes and say, I am one with the divine. Let's practice. Close your eyes. I am one with the divine. I mean, those words might not sing to your soul right now because some of us might need to do it more than once. And sometimes in a situation that we're in that we're trying to forgive somebody, we might need to do it multiple times, if you know what I mean. Say, I am one with the divine. I am one with the divine. I am one with the divine. And it changes. It just shifts your thinking to that place of, wow, I do want to be that spiritual being that I proclaim to be. I do want to be in that higher consciousness. I do want to move through this with ease and grace and not be ugly or nasty to somebody. But it opens up a new pathway for you to listen to God, to hear the messages that are for you. And during this time of Lent, it's a good time to remind ourselves that every day, every moment of the day, we can receive a message if we're spiritually aligned. And that should be motivation enough, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but sometimes we just keep replaying the tape or rewatching that movie and just going backwards with our thoughts and thinking. But when we say, I am one with the divine, we find ourselves more empathetic. We find ourselves not looking at it like it's against us. We no longer allow our ego to take it personally. We don't know what that person's experiencing when they are doing whatever it is. We don't know. And all we can do is behold the Christ in them and say, oh, be empathetic and just say in yourself, say, oh, I'm lifting you up in prayer. I'm lifting you up to that place that I know is the truth of you. And that can't come from the ego. That can only be a spiritual practice. So, it stops that cycle. It lifts our consciousness to a new place. If you were here last week, Reverend Warren was talking about the class that I took, and it's kind of funny because, some of you know that we were foster parents before, years ago, and for 10 years. And so they came to us, the DFACs did, and said, well, until even if when the adoption gets done, we still want to have you on the books as foster parents. So you've done all this stuff. I told you we did 3 home studies through this whole ordeal of Aiden and JW. So they said, we're going to make you foster parents. And we're like, okay, what does that do differently? Well, the only thing it does is make us have to have CEUs for the license for foster parents. So they had this thing one Saturday, and I went to it, and it was 6 hours of credit, so that's why I went, which was the week before last. And so there was a gal there that was teaching part of the course that was supposed to be about self-care for the foster adoptive parents. And of course, you know, I listened to her, but come to find out she's a life coach. Now, I don't know if anybody in here is a life coach or not, or has done the training, but I've always had this idea about life coaches because I've known too many people that became a life coach that had never had any psychology or any kind of social work training or any kind of spiritual training or ministry training or anything, and they're out there telling people how to live their life. And I just really have an issue with that. You know, I think how unprofessional, and you know, because you took life coaching classes from another life coach, you got this certificate that you can tell people how to live their life. So she, you know, comes up and says she's a life coach, adoptive parent, foster parent. That part of it was great. But anyway, the good news was that when she said that, which Warren shared last week, she said, your thoughts have power over your life. I mean, the whole group, which there was probably 36 people, I think it was, there, they all just went, oh, you're like a light bulb went off, you know, and I'm sitting there going, looking at these people thinking, okay, this group needs to come to unity because they can really be enlightened here. I mean, if they're impressed by that little statement, hey. But then, you know, she was going on a little bit, and I finally said, you know, at our church at Unity, we have a saying, thoughts held in mind produce after the kind. The whole group again went, and looked at me with amazement, like, oh my gosh, that is a profound statement. And I was like, yes. But the thing was that she did come forth with something that I thought kind of, it goes right along with that idea of law of mind action, that thought, everybody say it with me, thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Yes. And so I wanted to share that. And, oh wait, here's the definition of a life coach from the dictionary. Life coach is a person who counsels and encourages clients on matters having to do with careers and personal challenges. You see my hang up about that, counsels or encourages. I can get the encouragement, you know, everybody needs a cheerleader, but it's like counsels, come on, don't do that. Anyway, I mean, we don't even counsel people on a certain level. We do spiritual counseling, but we don't do psychological counseling because it can, you know, be abusive. So anyway, but I saw the crowd and I thought, okay, this is really cool because I know that it's going to make a difference in people's lives. But I thought the model that she used, she called it the model, she used to explain how you can change your thoughts, was a good thing to line up with that law of mind action. And it went like this. The model, she called it, circumstance, thought, feeling, action, result. So she asked the audience for somebody to share something that happened in their life that was, you know, tragic or caused them a lot of emotion or pain or whatever, suffering. And this girl said she had cancer. And she said, you know, I think I might have even done what you're saying. But she asked the girl, she said, okay, the circumstance was cancer. And your first thought was, and the girl said, I thought I was going to die. And she said, but your feeling was, and hopeless or helpless. The action was that she cried and got mad. But in that action, the result was she decided she didn't want to die. And I thought, thoughts held in mind produce after the kind. Sometimes you have to go through all the junky junk to get to the cream of the crop. So then what happened was for her circumstance she came to terms with the fact that she has cancer. And that was a fact, not a capital T truth, right? And we have so many facts in our lives. We have that person that did that thing over and over again that we keep replaying in our head. Or we have something in our own life that might hurt or pain. But that's not the truth of us, is it? It's just a fact. It's just something that's there. We might have done something to injure our knee. That's a fact, but that's not the truth of who Becky is, right? So we look at that. But the thought is, I'm going to live and beat this, is what her next thought was. Well, she denied any power of the diagnosis. She denied any power, any of her own power, giving away to something else. And don't we do that in the law of mind action? We use the idea of denials and, of course, then affirmations. So the feeling she had after that was empowered, and she had faith, which is an affirmation. We use our denials to take back our power. We use our affirmations to affirm our truth. And then the action was that she sought out treatment and help. And she prayed and gave it to God. And that's what we do when we work the law of mind action. We move through it and we give it to God. We know with faith that it's going to be okay. And the result was she was healed from cancer, which we know was the truth of her from the very beginning. And that's why it's important for all of us to be in that same mindset of holding that space for each other when we pray, or when we do our offertory prayer and we're praying for prosperity. The power of abundance, whatever it is, we have to hold those truths for each other because we know that's the truth, and the result will be the truth if we hold the truth, right? Mm-hmm. But it was so cool to see this woman do this whole exercise because to me, I was like sitting there going, oh, wow. But, you know, this is exactly what we talk about at Unity. And we can use this pattern over and over again to help us get through any circumstance. When anything ever happens that we go to reactionary mode about, we have to just look at what it is about it that is a fact. And then claim the truth, the capital T truth about that situation. You got me? Yep. So no matter what it is, it's just a fact that this is so. But that isn't the truth of who we are or what we are as spiritual beings. The minute you do that, you're pretty much on your way to sailing through it, you know, following those other little examples. And this is the time of year, like I said, that we are practicing Lent. And it's a time to remind us to practice living from our spiritual consciousness. If we want to live from kindness in every way, we have to free our physical and mental bondage through the practice of forgiveness and by changing our thoughts about situations. Change our thoughts. Focus on the truth. Don't focus on the circumstance or what the fact is. We can use the model as a means to review and retell the story or circumstance. Facts are facts, but what we think or feel about them is a whole different story, isn't it? Yeah. So no matter what the fact is, the feeling or the feeling or what we're thinking is where we switch and go to that place of truth. We no longer go to the drama zone. When we live and move and have our being in truth, we can easily practice this process to the point where we don't even recognize we are doing it. I believe that all of you are already doing it. Maybe you haven't looked at it this way, or maybe you haven't even thought about that you have done it. But I bet you there's been something in your lives that you have taken and released and then changed it to being in that place where you saw the spiritual aspect in that situation. And that's what we're talking about. I mean, that's what we're talking about. So we're working on this and we're practicing it. And so the way we're going to practice it so that it becomes a normal response, we're going to practice it first with ourselves. So you have 2 slips of paper, right? Everybody got 2 little blank slips of paper from the basket from Sandy? Mm-hmm. Is she out there? If you don't have 2 slips of paper, raise your hand and we'll have Sandy bring you some. Or Farah, you want to just grab some of those and bring them in here? Dr. Barber needs one. Matha needs one. Reverend Moore needs, well, you need 2 pieces of paper. And everybody else got one? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. On the first piece of paper, you're going to write down somebody's... Oops, my mic fell. Sorry. We're going to... Sorry. All right, you're going to write down a person's name that you might not be happy with right now. I should have turned it off. Sorry. So write down... Don't even look at the rest of it. I was going to bullet that, and I forgot to go back and make it come in at a certain time. But you take one of your slips of paper and write down someone's name that you might not be happy with right now. Okay? So just write down the name, first name that comes to your mind of somebody that you're not happy with. Somebody that irritates you, somebody that you just, they're bugging you. Maybe it's somebody from your past even. Maybe they're not doing it right now. Okay? And then you're going to write down 3 nice things about them. Okay? 3 nice things about them.
On the same piece of paper?
On the same piece of paper. Underneath their name, you're going to write down 3. Did you get paper? Reverend Moore needs it too.
She needs to do it, sweetheart.
Write down 3 nice things about them.
Ooh.
Now, some people might write down something physical, like, I like their hair. JW says that to me all the time now. I like your hair. I say, I got curls just like you. I like your hair. It's so cute. Anyway. But, you know, it could be something physical. It could be something, you know, that you know they're intelligent, whatever. Okay, everybody do that? Everybody done with the 3 things for that person? So the next part is that I invite you to give it to that person or mail it to them. Might be a hard thing to do for you, but you want to talk about some powerful release. When you see the good in somebody else and can write it down and claim that for them, they might not be seeing that good at all. Or they might know that good, and when you affirm it for them, it changes how they feel about you. And that reciprocal energy then becomes more of the truth, that you behold the Christ in them. You see what I'm saying? Okay, your second piece of paper, you're going to write your name on it. Put your name at the top, and then write down 3 nice things about yourself. Separate piece of paper, second piece of paper. Put your name and 3 nice things about yourself. That's easier to do, isn't it? And you're going to take that second piece of paper and you're going to post it somewhere in your house where you see it every day for the rest of Lent until Easter Sunday, okay? And if you're having a struggle to think about mailing that other slip of paper to that person or stick it in an Easter card and send it to them, you know? That's an easy way to do it. Or, you know, just thinking of you card. Stick it in there and say, we did this exercise at church and I just wanted to share this with you, that I see this about you. You're opening up a place in your mind. You are releasing any ill feelings and opening up a place in your mind to see something better than what you've been holding about that person when you do that. Okay? Are you willing to do this? Are you willing to do this? That's okay. If you're not willing to do it right now, then hold on to it. Post it in the same place. And when you're looking at yourself, look at that other piece of paper. And hopefully by Easter, you'll be willing to do it.
It's my brother. I love him, but I just don't want to be part of. I don't want him to, because he does the same thing over and over.
Right.
Over the years.
And so I'm going to finish talking about this in just a minute about the release that needs to happen, but because you're allowing it to affect you instead of, I mean, it's okay to say I don't want to be a part of that circle, but I also need to release ill feelings that I have.
I don't know, baby.
Okay. Then yeah. Okay, so let's go on. Sorry. So the reason why we need to do this, and this is a great statement that is from the author of the 4 Agreements, it says, whatever happens around you, don't take it personally. Nothing other people do is because of you, it is because of themselves. The minute you start thinking anything that anybody else did has to do with you, even if you were in the middle of the chaos or the circumstance or it still has nothing to do with you. And the minute you think it has to do with you, then what are you doing? You are using your ego to take it on rather than looking at it from a spiritual aspect. Do you see that? And this is a huge thing to grasp, and a huge thing that can change your life. Because that means no matter what somebody else is doing, you can say, wow, that's not about me. Your brother that you shared that example, whatever he's doing, however he's living, is not about you. And you are willing to still send love to him. And that's what it's about. It's about, can I free myself from any burdens I've put on myself because I have taken it personal? Can I free myself of those burdens and just send love? You know, that changes the whole spiritual aspect in our consciousness of everything that happens around us. And when we can do that, then we are coming to that new level of kindness. Because you can't help but be kind and loving. Last lesson, it was about kindness, loving kindness together. And Fillmore defined that for us. And if we can be from that place of loving kindness, then we are in a spiritual act of kindness, and we will be living kindness in every way, in everything that we do. And isn't that what we want?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, if there's anything that anybody says about me when I'm off this earthly plane, is I want to say, oh, she was loving and kind. Because I believe that is so much power in it. So much power. All right, so when we let this all sink in, when we really, really take that in, we are transported to this new spiritual beingness that we are. And we can stop and take that breath. You know, when I said take that breath and close your eyes and say, I am one with the divine, it will be a whole new sensation, a whole new feeling. Say it with me. I am one with the divine. And from that moment then, we can align with truth and live from kindness. And every word that we speak will be kind. And every action we take will be an expression of kindness in every way. Thank you for being here today. God bless you. So I have a fun song for you. I wasn't sure what I was going to do this week, but I just Googled kindness in YouTube, you know. I guess it's not Google. YouTube, put it in the search bar.